Hello, players. Hello, listeners, and welcome to another session of London by Night. Tonight, we find ourselves in a precarious situation of two shadows, two dragons meeting in those shadows. We find Nikolai, the Russian, um, in what looks to be a bit oversized for him seat of a silver van. The logo of Zipcar plastered onto the side. You would think with the neon green the car would be noticeable, but due to some peculiarity or some interesting aspect, most people just seem to their eyes just seem to slide by the car. As he'll drive along, he'll eventually pull out front of somewhere. And I'll let Marcus describe where he's pulling out front of.
Marcus, who in the last few nights has been enjoying the hospitality of one Bishop Bainforth after some rather disturbing revelations, has called an acquaintance? No, they've been through a little bit more to be just acquaintances. Friends? Who knows? But colleagues, for sure. And it's actually in a location relatively undisclosed. It is a little bit further out, not quite in the countryside, but a little further. It's a nice patch, nice and shadowy. No CCTV cameras are to be seen for a good few meters, but Marcus, who is skulking in the shadows, a cap on, a shawl over his nose and mouth, is just watching as this surprising choice in vehicle shows up.
All right. You'll see him pull up and park, and then he'll just pull up, park, and then look around before giving a smile and a small wave towards good old Marcus.
Marcus sees the familiar face and ever so slightly lets out a breath of relief. Not that he really needs to breathe in the condition he is, but old habits die hard, and he isn't that long into the undead lifestyle, so he moves closer, giving Nikolai a friendly wave and gesturing with his hand where he should go, pointing to the side seat or pointing to the back.
Nikolai will just nod his head towards the back.
Marcus will go around the back, have a good look around. Everything seems to be okay, and he gets in, quickly closing the back door.
Nikolai will then jump back into the driver's seat without saying much of a word and drive off. And he will go, any particular destination?
Not particularly. This shouldn't take too long. I just didn't want to risk anything.
Right. And he'll nod, and he'll then just drive around before eventually finding one of the a nearby like abandoned parking lot. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too interesting, but one nice and away from cameras or any other noticeable things. Maybe in front of like a soccer field or something. Sorry, football field.
Thank you. As we Brits like to call it.
Yep.
Yeah, while that's going on, Marcus sits down, tries to get comfy.
So, I heard the news.
What did you hear? I'm curious.
That tilts his head before saying that Mr. Goodman went on a rampage of some sort.
I guess you can boil it down to that. Would you like some more details?
I feel that would be nice. Duh.
Sure thing. And he looks around. Yeah, this is a good choice. Then again, I didn't expect any less from you. So, the dirt, the goods, the news. Or just the tragic and horrifying massacre that happened partially in front of my eyes. Marcus exhales, gathers himself. Right. So, Mr. Goodman and I were at his familial abode. Nobody else really around. We were planning of using that as, you could say, our small base of operations for our little coterie. You know, you have to establish yourself somewhere. Already was making plans of getting some of my possessions moved over. Then we heard the terrible news that his sister was the victim of a drive-by. Definitely meditated. People don't just put masks on and then shoot just at one person just for the hell of it. No. Somebody wanted to stir up shit. Who exactly? Difficult to say. Maybe the Invictus. Maybe the Lance. Maybe some third party we are not even quite sure of yet. But we heard the news, and I decided, since I was able to do the day shift, to keep watch while Mr. Goodman had a rest. I, for one, are pretty sure that Julian wasn't the one to order the hit. It makes no sense. He wouldn't have benefited in any way, shape, or form. What transpired next was, frankly, yeah, a bit of a nightmare. He takes a breath. This has obviously not left Marcus cold. He's taking regular breaks just to calm himself down a little bit.
Understandable.
Yeah. Anyway, I was keeping an eye out. Mr. Goodman was enjoying his day sleep. Everything seemed pretty calm. I was just regularly looking out of the window if I could see anything. Occasionally even had my good old pet have a quick round and report. Everything seemed fine. Then, come noon, high noon you might say, it wasn't a gang of thugs. that came to attack us. It wasn't just some goons of some either the Covenant or, either kindred. I hear a loud knock on the door, go in and spy, and what do I see? An inspector, and behind him 8 gentlemen from the police, heavily armoured in what seemed to be riot gear, ready to bash the door down. I politely asked for the warrant. I played the part of the housekeeper, as far as I can recollect, and I have to say, it's interesting when your senses sharpen, but it's not the adrenaline. You can keep a little bit calmer. Anyway, I didn't mention my name, but asked for the warrant, and a certain inspector was so nice to push it through the letterbox. Checked it. Definitely seemed like the real article. Mind you, I haven't seen that many in my lifetime, but at least once. Anyways, I told my pet to go and wake up Mr. Goodman and to let him know who was at the door. I tried to stall them, which is a little bit difficult when you have a goddamn drug bust team there, but anyway, the inspector gave his name of the 9 people who afterwards entered. He was the only one to survive, and that was because, boy, that was a mess. Because I was able to get his attention, but that's for later. So, Mr. Goodman came down. The inspector was let in, told him what he was being charged with. And
May I ask a question at this point?
Yes.
Out of character, did you mention that you guys had heard the news that Julian was wanted beforehand?
Beforehand, no.
Right.
Marcus hadn't, out of character,
Right.
Marcus hadn't known
Okay.
that.
So
Marcus only had heard about.
He'll ask, were either of you aware that at the time the news had stated that that Julian Goodman was wanted for questioning? And there was an arrest warrant out for him?
The only news I knew of at the time was that a few hours back, Miss Goodman had been shot and rushed to hospital. As far as I know, she is alive, but in what condition, I could not say.
We see.
Yeah. I only found out later that Mr. Goodman had been spotted on CCTV camera without anything covering his face, dragging a dead body. I actually remember the night. I wasn't aware that he had been caught on camera, but I was there. That was the night where the Elysium got attacked, and we had managed to disable 2 of the 3 perpetrators. I myself had managed to get away before the police could see me, and let's just say, and Marcus produces a well-worn balaclava pinched between 2 fingers.
I would ditch that and get a new one at this point.
It might have my DNA on it.
No, our DNA does not last. Well, it will have your DNA, but it will be. Thanks for a sec. Yeah, your DNA would last. Ditch it. Get a new one. If you were caught on camera and you wear that one again, there may be some identifying clues.
Marcus takes a closer look at it and then starts thinking, oh, of course, wear marks. And I hadn't even thought of that. He puts it away. I'll keep that in mind. And don't worry, I've got some fresh ones spare, unused.
Good.
Always have spares.
You may continue.
Yes, of course, of course. The night just has so little hours. Anyway, so I wasn't aware of that had happened. I found out a little later that Mr. Goodman was apparently aware of that, or at least halfway, and he had not hit that end of the rope. But if you want more details on that, you can ask him himself. He's let's just say he's back in the rather tight bosom of the Ordre du Corps, and he's been demoted to fledgling status. So I think you can figure out the rest. Anyway, back to what happened next. Okay, so they had words. Then Mr. Goodman was cuffed under suspicion of being spotted with dragging a dead body and supposedly being behind the attack on his sister. And at that point, I'd managed to. It shames me to say it, but on that night, let's just say I wasn't quite as. Let's just say my dominate wasn't quite yet as strong as it is these nights. I definitely could have needed some more, but no point. What's happened is happened. Anyway, instead of being dragged
Take note
out,
of that.
yeah, and yes, I've learned a new trick. I know what kind of information I'm letting out.
All right, you can out of character. You can continue. He just takes note of that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And Marcus just. I know, but then again, I know you make it like information, so I thought I'd throw you a bone. He gives you a crooked smile. You're not quite sure if he's making fun of you or if he's just trying to be jovial.
Doesn't say anything, just raises his eyebrow and makes that little circling motion with his hand to continue.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, enough with the gay banter. So I'd managed to get into a part of the room that wasn't directly hit by the sunlight. Thankfully, the sight of such things don't freak me out quite as bad as other kindred, let's just put it that way. And I realized the situation was bad, but I thought if I sit tight, and I might be able to get maybe some alone time with the inspector, I might be able to get some more information out. Mr. Goodman was let out into the midday sun. For the first few seconds, it seemed as if he was able to keep his shit together, but
Nikolai is pinching the bridge of his nose right now. Doing the oh god look. Closed eyes, going oh god, I know where this is going.
But I don't know if he was trying to do something, or if it was the beast that was just freaking out a little stronger than Mr. Goodman was expecting. But yeah, they call me a berserker. He went full berserk. I mean, there were 8 men that dogpiled him, and repeatedly he managed to break out as, I don't know, as if a group of toddlers was trying to stop a full-grown man. It was impressive and horrifying at the same time. Frankly, I was hoping that he could keep his shit together until he was in the van. It looked pretty light-proof, actually, so, I was basically hoping that if worst comes to the worst, he could have played possum, and I, in the meantime, might have been able to rally some help and support, but we were not having anything of that. The inspector was trying to get outside. I managed to dominate him to get back to me, because I knew if he tried. Anyway, to cut a long and gruesome story short, Mr. Goodman dispatched the 8 policemen. I managed to get the inspector back into the building, work some crude but I think reasonably effective dominate on him, and tried my best to convince him that what was happening there was Mr. Goodman obviously being under the effect of some rather potent illegal substance, and not actually growing fangs and ripping larynxes out. Those poor men. It's brave, but I'm surprised not more of them ran.
Nods slowly as he listens.
Marcus stops, has that 1,000-mile stare for a solid minute. For 2 minutes.
Yeah. Won't actually say anything or stop him. Doesn't really know what to say. He's been probably seen that horror type of horror before, but that doesn't make him any less more equipped to deal with emotional trauma.
True. And I would say after a solid 3 minutes, Marcus manages to snap out of it. Sorry. I was just...
remembering.
So, there were bodies everywhere, those poor men. In states, don't get me wrong, I've seen combat and I've seen nasty things, but I never quite saw something like that.
Not slowly.
Yeah, I think he managed to dispatch the last 3 in the guest house, and that's where I found him, but after I was reasonably sure that the inspector was buying my story, I had him run for his life. I don't know if that was a good thing. I don't know if it was a bad thing, but
What is done is done.
What's done is done, and after so much death, sorry if this sounds weak, but I just didn't want to see another death.
Not solely.
Anyway, the door in the main building was open, and I saw in a distance that there were two people coming from two different directions. Joggers, neighbors, God knows, but I screwed up my courage and faced the midday sun. Had my blush of life on and tried my best just to. Well, it wasn't very difficult to mime the distressed person just coming and shouting, "Oh my God, he's lost it! Run away!" And two other passers-by just turned around and ran. It didn't take much to convince them. But yeah, feeling the heat on my skin, scorching, I decided to get to the van, my van, the black one. What a shame. Anyway, to the old Vandura, got the car to the guest house, had Mr. Goodman bundled himself in there, managed to drive away from there, one of the side roads, following side roads, passing police twice. Thankfully, there are no windows in the back. Were any windows in the back of my van, and they were obviously not looking for me, at least at that point in time. Got to a reasonable distance before the pain was starting to get worse. Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I'm glad that I've been able to learn what I could learn, and being able to keep your cool even in the scorching sun is a good thing. But damn, did it hurt. Anyway, managed to bundle myself in the back as well, where it was nice and dark, where I could get a breather. Called the Ordo, got one of our general ghouls on the line, thankfully, and she was able to organize a different vehicle in the vicinity, but not close, but not too close to where my van was. Managed to bundle Mr. Goodman in there, drove there, took. Yeah, I had a proper tan at the end of that horror trip. But anyway, before that, I took the license plates off my van. Didn't have much in it at the moment anyway, so that was good, and just left it where it was, abandoned it. Got back to Ordo headquarters, and then from there, I just went back to the room I had planned to empty in these last few nights. But what should I say? The plan of mice and men often go awry. And he just now it's him who is pinching his nose and just giving some support to his head. Marcus recounting this obviously wasn't very pleasant for him, but he seems to be together mostly.
Right. So Not to be to the chase, but I doubt you called me here for a pleasant social goal.
No, not only. Things seem to be coming ahead, apart from the utter clusterfuck. Pardon my French. But let's just say I'm laying low, trying to get not a lay of the land, but just gather some information, find out what the situation is, and maybe at some point, let's just say there might be a slight identity change. At least one has been offered by Archon Baneforth, of all people.
Raises an eyebrow at that.
Yeah, surprised me as much as it surprises you.
You know there's going to be strings attached.
Of course there are going to be strings attached. I'm dealing with undead bloodsuckers. That's what we are.
Most likely, though, all he'll want is you to go to church.
If he just wants a bit of lip service, what do I care?
So,
But yes, so I was thinking,
feature?
Where do you feature? As you know, I can't just merrily walk around and gather the information myself. I'm a bit limited at the moment. Just because I want to play it a bit safer, or in other words, just being goddamn reasonable. I thought I would like to enlist your special abilities. I would be interested in your ability to gather information.
Right. What would you like me to discover?
Mind you, within reason. I'm not asking you to go full Mission Impossible on me here. Obviously not. But maybe you might be able to find out some information about the Inspector. He mentioned his name at least once, and I got to see his badge. One Inspector Bradley. Metropolitan Police, I would guess Homicide Department, or something in that direction. I'm curious what you might be able to find out about him.
Right. Writes the name down on a small pad of paper.
Marcus also gives Nikolai a reasonably good description of the fellow. Out of character, I can't give the description I see because none was said.
Yeah.
But obviously seen.
Nikolai will say, I should have the information relatively soon. Can I reach you at the same phone?
The new number? Yeah. That was something else that I made sure to get, let's just say, to get rid of in an expedient way. Didn't want them tracking me with the GPS. Right. And of course, it's under different name, personage. Let's just say it's surprisingly easy to get your hands on cell phones. If you can, just ever so nicely ask people. And there's a slight smile that breaks through there.
gives a small chuckle as he'll turn on the car again and goes, well, if that's all, I should be able to get the information easy enough. I have some leeway in the police department.
I don't suspect that Inspector Bradley is on your payroll or anything in that direction.
Not him.
Fair enough. Good. Not, I wouldn't say for right now. Currently, I'm more interested into, just knowing a little bit more about the fellow, maybe whatever might be pertaining to the situation. As far as you don't have to put yourself in danger. That is important for me. But let's just say, in time, I might be interested in getting him to how should I put it?
See things your way.
Couldn't have put it better.
Blinks at that. And nods slowly. As it's very much something that you normally would have said.
No. The way Marcus phrased that is untypical for him.
Yeah.
Marcus is not smiling at that one. Frankly, when he says it, I guess you could say it that way. There is a resignated expression on his face. He's not relishing the thought, but yeah.
But it's more as what I'm saying is Nikolai blinks slowly and starts to understand just how, or he's already understood how serious this is. But to think that you would go that far, this is not something Marcus would normally even consider. So he'll just nod slowly in understanding and say, "I'll get you the information as soon as possible."
Marcus exhales. I normally abhor forcing my will on those that don't give me a good reason to do so. It's one thing if you're threatening a mate of mine, then I'm fine to come in, crush your mind for a bit, just squeeze it enough that you'll yield and let them go. I've got the I don't like breaking my own rules. I don't. But I fear that I'll have to this time. I got caught. It's not just that I got caught up in one thing, it's I've got the feeling if I don't act, if I'm not proactive in this, if I'm not playing the longer game, somebody else will get their hands on him. Or some information might slip through the net that we'll need to, in whatever shape or form, try and negate this disaster.
nods slowly and goes, "Trust me, you don't have to you don't have to justify this stuff to me. I'm just surprised it coming from you. But on to other things. Any idea how Mr. Bishop will get you this new identity? I know he's wealthy, but
Plastic surgery doesn't work on us. I'm aware of that. Not long term, anyway.
whoa, it's going to be more extreme than just a new ID and a fresh shave then.
Well, of course, like everything that comes from the Lancare Sanctum, one has to take it with a pinch of salt. But I had a hard time not thinking that that was just a cruel joke on his part in the first minute. But he claims that that's the most scientifically accurate way to say it. He claims that he has some form of Theban sorcery that would allow him to let me and a freshly deceased person reasonably, not as in killed right there, of course, Jesus, but that he could swap my face with that of a dead person, with that of a corpse.
For how long?
I would take on their face. Something else I'll have to look into, but I'm planning on spreading my eggs a little bit here. I didn't want to bother you with two things at once. I'll be contacting another acquaintance of mine and see if they know anyone who can forge documents and to a reasonably good level.
Nods, understand completely the idea of going to multiple contacts. He won't even be offended at that because, frankly, it's a good idea to have multiple sources. So if one gets caught, your entire plan doesn't shatter.
Yeah, that's the thinking, and that is.
Yeah.
Put it that way, it's probably one of the fewer times when Nikolai realizes that Marcus occasionally can do some smarter thinking, some more strategic thinking.
Nikolai will be driving back to your place, as he says. As he pulls up, he'll just say, "Well then, I would just check with Mr. Bainforth on, or should we be calling him Bishop Bainforth? No.
He's not around, so Ringleader will do.
You should check with Ringleader to make sure whatever magic he's offering lasts. I find that type of spellcraft, like everything else with our condition, isn't exactly always permanent."
Oh, mind you, I'll be reading the fine print before I agree to anything.
Most likely you will have to stay by him for him to keep it up, or some other way to keep you on the leash.
Now isn't that convenient? If it turns out that that's the case.
Shrugs and goes, "Well, I suppose there could be worse masters."
Marcus gives Nikolai a very weird look. It's almost as if Nikolai is seeing Marcus, but behind the eyes something else too.
Oh, right, sorry. Forgot you don't like that word.
it is less it is less how should I say, it is the beast that is lurking in the back, in the black of Marcus's eyes. It isn't baring its teeth at you, but put it that way, if it were a beast, it were just behind Marcus's shoulder, and it would have its chest puffed out with a very cold look.
Sighs.
Nikolai. In this, my beast and I are in agreement. We are nobody's lapdog. And I haven't fled one cruel master just to sit neatly at the foot of another. I am of the Ven. And I was born a freeman. I died a freeman. And I'd rather die standing than on my knees.
Nods.
And with that, the beast slowly recedes back out of the eyes. The more and Marcus' expression, heck, even his pallor, is more lifelike again. Oh, I'm just trying to. Yeah, that's me, and I make no excuses for it.
You are fine. Do not worry about it. I'm just saying, I was just expressing that there could be worse people to throw your lot in with. He's annoying and self-righteous.
But yeah, oh, sorry. How rude of me.
But the doctor is right in the matter of he tries to do good. It may be for an alternative reasoning, but he still tries to do good, and that's a lot better than a lot of people I've seen in this city of our kin.
Yeah. That's the funny part. As much as he's a Dave as I've ever come across them, and to be fair, I've come across at least a few. Marcus even slightly chuckles at that, knowing that it can't be more than a handful. But, yeah, I think that he believes he does good. And that he tries to do good. And you know what? Good, greater, smaller, it's all the same to me. At least somebody who is trying to have some integrity. Present company excluded, of course.
Nikolai was going to give you an offended look, then say, integrity, what's that?
But no, he just said integrity, the two of us, pa.
Nikolai will give a short laugh and then go, right. Let's see how long you can hold on to that. As he'll pull up on the side of the road and go, be careful out there. I have a feeling things are getting a lot worse than they are going to get better.
Would you like to hear my educated guess on what might be standing to happen to the greater domain of Greater London?
Let's breathe in, breathe out. then turns and goes, "Very well.
I mean,
Educate me."
yeah. I mean, it has been obvious that there has been a lot of powder kegs being pushed around, but let's just say from the way the bishop acted and what little I've been able to overhear, the spark will be lit sooner than later.
Shakes
And
his head
Mhm.
slowly at that, sadly. "And the ones who will stand to gain, should the city erupt in chaos, are the things that are waiting in the shadows."
I am aware of that. Frankly, that is worrying me way more than the squabbling of kindred.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if an unlikely alliance were to happen. Just so that they can shout the words "Storm the Bastille," if you catch my drift.
Between those two factions? Interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll even spell it out. Between the Lance and the not Carthaginians, even though they bear their name.
Out of character, you mean the gallows?
No, well. Out of character, I don't think he was trying to be about that. If Nikolai assumes that, he's free to assume that.
Alright, he's going to draw some conclusions from that. They may be wrong, they may be right, but he'll just nod slowly and just offer his hand, as this seems like a good stopping point.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, I've got the feeling we're in for some very bumpy roads ahead. But yeah, I don't know what exactly I could offer you right now, but I was always told you pay a favor back with a favor.
He'll nod and go, "Well, I'll keep that in mind next time I need to call on someone." Yeah.
And he offers his hand to symbolically seal the deal.
Nikolai will take it.
They'll shake hands, and I would say with that, Marcus draws up, puts the cap on again, draws up the shawl, and starts disappearing into the shadows.
All right. And we'll end it there. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This has been another London by Night session. Hope you enjoyed.